took the time to watch the new Mission Impossible film, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, and yeah, it was pretty good. You should maybe give it a watch. I thought it was maybe going to be the best entry so far in the series while I was watching it, but the second half of the film for me dropped in quality a bit compared to the first half. The first half is kind of perfect. Then there's some clunky exposition in the second half that I could have done without, and with it being a part 1, you don't get a self-contained story, you just get part of one. It's very heavy on action, but was varied enough that I never got bored. It's pretty true to past entries in the series, so if you liked Mission Impossible Fallout, you'll probably like this one too. It has a runtime just short of 3 hours, and if anything, it felt a lot shorter than that. It's a bit of a roller coaster ride. Don't get me wrong, I don't think it's going to go down in history as an all-time classic, like an Aliens, or Unforgiven, or Yojimbo. Most times it would be classed as good, but with the state Hollywood's currently in, it's frankly exceptional. The film brings in some new cast members, the main one being Hayley Atwell playing the character Grace, who's a wily thief and the female lead of the movie, and she's a joy in it. The part is not an easy one. It needs an actor who can show a great deal of emotional range, and she does it in style. She can share a screen with Tom Cruise, no problem. It may be a career best performance from her for me. There is nothing in the whole film that I would describe as a weak performance from any actor. Everyone there does their job. But it would be nice to see Ving Rhames get a bit more tested. It's not a hard role that he's been given, he does it fine, but he has abilities as an actor that the film doesn't tap into. The thing is, does someone in the production of these films have a thing for British women or something? The film has 3 main female cast members, and they're all British and all with posh accents. Hollywood likes British actresses, it seems, but it's always women with accents like Emily Blunt. It's never a woman with a thick Liverpool accent, or Birmingham, or Newcastle, or Bala, or Cardiff. Hollywood, you need to give a chance to the Welsh accent. Mission Impossible now seems to fit the niche that Bond films used to go in. A suave action hero, glamorous women, maybe a femme fatale, exotic locations. In this film, they travel to the Middle East, Abu Dhabi followed by Rome, Venice and into Austria on the Orient Express, and there's good and bad in that. I have mixed feelings because I like classic Bond films, but I also liked classic Mission Impossible. So now Mission Impossible has moved into the Bond film niche, and there's nothing in the Mission Impossible niche, because this film is a far reach from the original 1966 series, and God only knows what Bond's doing. I half expect by the next Bond film, Bond will be being played by Phoebe Waller-Bridge. So here's where we part company if you want to watch the movie, because I'm going to get into spoilers from this point on, okay? You've been warned. The film starts out on a Russian experimental submarine. As a test, the Russians have been moving it next to other countries' navies and found that none of them can even detect it until something goes wrong. Their electronics are hacked, causing them to think that there's a threat. They fire a torpedo, and the torpedo is hacked and comes back to hit their own submarine. Ethan Hunt is brought in because the US government is looking for a special key, split into 2 parts, and one part is being held by returning character Ilsa Faust, being played by Rebecca Ferguson. The US government has put a $50 million price on her head, and bounty hunters are closing in on her. She's trapped in the Arabian desert, and Ethan is tasked with getting to her and getting the key, and that's a hell of an opening for a film. There's a firefight and Ethan gets her out alive, followed by him using a rubber mask to spy on some US officials to find out what's going on. He learns that this has all been caused by a new emerging threat to the world, a true artificial intelligence that's learning on its own, and no electronic defence seems to be able to keep it out, which is kind of topical. And this starts a race. Many countries around the world want to gain control of the AI for their own use and take its power, including the US government, and it's winner take all. Ethan Hunt and the IMF are also drawn into it, with Ethan wanting to destroy the AI because he considers it too dangerous for any government to have. With one half of the key in hand that he got from Ilsa, he sets out to find the other half, bringing in series regulars Simon Pegg and Ving Rhames as Tom Cruise's technical support, and their next stop is Abu Dhabi, where they need to intercept a buyer who's there to buy half of the key from someone other than them. he'll need to have the other half of the key with him to verify their half is genuine. So they need to identify the buyer first, and they don't even know what to do with the key if they had the completed 2 parts. They just know it's needed in some way to control the AI, so their plan is to sell their half of the key to the buyer, then tail the man until they find out what to do with it, then take the key back and destroy the AI. Their plan gets blown immediately upon the entrance of the new character. It all goes to hell. Hayley Atwell playing the character Grace, and these early scenes with her were my favourite parts of the entire film. She completely ruins their plan by picking Tom Cruise's pocket and stealing his half of the key. She somehow knew about the deal and has lifted Tom Cruise's half of the key, as well as the half from the buyer, as well as the payment he was going to give to Tom Cruise in exchange. And the next scene was a bit exploitative. Tom Cruise realises his pocket has been picked and follows her while trying to scramble and come up with a new plan, and the camera does tend to linger on her backside for quite a while, and I don't know what to tell you, but I was fine with it. Tom Cruise bumps into her, and the subtle mix of emotions on her face as he invades her personal space is a lovely bit of acting from Hayley Atwell. A mix of startled, intrigued, attracted, confused, unsure how to react. Her acting in this film is a joy. I liked her in the series Agent Carter, but this is a step up. In a film with gunfights and car chases and high stakes, her performance makes the whole thing relatable. But they're not the only ones in the airport looking for the key. The US government has sent a team led by the actor Shea Wiggum, playing the Bloodhound after Ethan Hunt. He's done similar roles before, and he does it well again. Another actor coming in from the series Agent Carter. Also, there is a mysterious man from Ethan's far past called Gabriel, who's there for the key, apparently working on behalf of the AI. At the end of this part, Grace has stolen the key yet again and boards a plane to Rome, but Ethan has her arrested by the Italian police as she gets off the plane, and just everyone is after her now. Shea Wiggum and the Americans, Gabriel, also the IMF, and there's another lovely scene when she's told her lawyer has arrived by the police and finds it is Tom Cruise in a suit and speaking Italian, and there's more shock that this man she left for dead on another continent is here. Also amusement, anger when she realises that he was the one that got her arrested, and I love her in this role. There's an extended car chase through Rome as she runs away yet again, followed by Tom Cruise, followed by the Italian police, followed by the actress Pom Klementieff playing the character Paris, who seems to be working with Gabriel, followed by the American Bloodhounds, and she gets away again, leaving Tom Cruise handcuffed to a car steering wheel in the way of an approaching train. The film never stops, but finally all of the players are on the board. The IMF, joined by Ilsa Faust, know where Grace is going to be, at a gala event in Venice, hosted by returning character the White Widow, played by Vanessa Kirby. Grace was hired by her to steal the key, and sadly, this is where the film started to go off the rails a bit for me. This is where it started to do things I didn't like. The subject of Gabriel comes up, and Ilsa says to camera, "There is no knowing him. He has no recorded past, the entity made sure of that. He's a dark messiah, the entity's chosen messenger, and he sees death as a gift he wants to share with the rest of the world." But yeah, that was a bit too exposition-y for me and laid on far too thick, and I would have much preferred they be far more subtle with it, and show instead of tell. But if they were going to tell and have her give this speech, maybe have her say something like, "Nobody knows anything about this man, Ethan. All I have is a name, Gabriel, and I don't even know if that's real. There are no records on him at MI6, and we have records on everybody, and wherever he goes, he leaves a trail of bodies, including good agents, and it's like he was never there." The trail takes them to Venice and the gala as they work to combat Gabriel and an AI that seems able to predict every move they make, like playing chess against a computer program. I won't spoil the rest, but at the end, Grace has been sent onto a train to stop the sale of the key, and she's had to go in alone. She's going to impersonate the White Widow by wearing a rubber mask, and I just couldn't suspend my disbelief. Because Hayley Atwell has a considerably wider face than Vanessa Kirby. There is just no way they could make this work. This is completely untenable. There's no way this could work unless the mask was compressing her face. Tom Cruise was supposed to come and help her by jumping a motorcycle onto the train, but the plan goes to hell again when Gabriel speeds the train up and jams the controls. And just as Hayley Atwell is about to be shot, Tom Cruise arrives on a parachute by smashing through the train side windows and hitting the guard. The hero of the film saves the leading lady only by complete accident. I would have preferred it not be a total fluke. At the close of the film, Gabriel gets away after a fight and Tom Cruise spares his life because he still needs to know where the key goes. And Shea Wiggum interrupts again, so Gabriel gets away. But Tom Cruise has pickpocketed the key, stops the runaway train and meets a mortally wounded Paris, and I'm not even sure what's supposed to have happened to her. The character was interesting enough for me to not get killed off camera, but she tells them that the key has to be taken to the port of Sebastopol. Ethan runs and Grace joins the IMF. And that's where part 1 ends. And all in all, it was a fine effort. Maybe partly tainted by a weaker second half, and now I'm going to get very annoyed waiting for part 2 that I will definitely be watching. But if I had it now, I would be watching it right now, and if that isn't a compliment, I don't know what is.
Those look good. A big salty clam would sure go great with this heat. Maybe it's time we set a little trap for Crystal Cove's knob stealer.